Right. So today is November 16th. I'll start off with the usual introduction. My name is Kevin. You guys might know me on Discord as the Market Bishop. I've been trading over a decade now. My business partner here, JP, his username is Agent. He's the only person, one of the only few people on Discord that I've seen that has had a much more extensive trading experience with over 20 years now. And the great thing about us doing this is because you get two different perspectives. You get the fundamental analysis from JP, since he's been having a lot of buddies that were big whales and stuff like that, and he's had extensive research into fundamental analysis. Whereas you have a technical analysis approach with me, since that's just always something I studied from when I first started. But we do these things called Saturday tickers because we believe it's very important for you guys to learn actually what's going on, instead of just looking at trade ideas and just blindly taking them, whether they're zero DTEs, QQQ, SPY, or even Meta Fridays, right? So yeah, we'll just sort of say what we're gonna have on schedule here. We're gonna kind of usually do our usual thing, which is where JP and I go over what happened this past week with the economic data. Any important news. We'll go over any possible tickers or stocks that we're looking over, and then after that, we're actually gonna move on to how JP and I use indicators such as SMAs, MAs, VRVP, which stands for visible range volume profile, and RSI. I personally don't use indicators. The only indicators I use are VRVP, which is basically volume. So I don't know if you want to call it an indicator, but I use that and the regular volume. I know JP uses indicators such as the SMA or MA. I don't know which one. And he also uses VRVP and the RSI. So we're just gonna go over the proper ways of using it, because I feel like in this time of age where YouTube is very easy to access, there's a lot more misinformation out there with just how to use things, because everyone's now looking at it as a scalping approach instead of using it as the correct approach, and the correct approach usually yields success in the long run. So we'll talk about how we personally use it. But before I go ahead and start, JP, are you here yet, or are you still drinking water? All right, so it's not here yet. But anyway, okay, we're gonna go over what
I'm
happened.
here.
Okay, so yeah, I was just gonna hand it over to you really quickly. If you could just talk over, what happened this week. If there's any important economic data we should be, keeping in mind that happened this week that we should carry over for next week, and any important stuff we need to wait for next week when it comes to economic data.
So first and foremost, we are going to talk about the election euphoria being over. As most of you guys know, last week we all witnessed the stock market past 2 weeks, I would say, make parabolic moves that were beyond anyone's comprehension. Of course, with every great elevator up, I'm sorry, with every great escalator up, there's always an elevator down. Um, Everyone was anticipating uh, a Trump bad for the stock market for some reason. I'm not too sure why people were thinking that. I was of a different of opinion, but most of the institutional traders that I know thought that if Kamala won, the market would go to all-time highs. And they thought that if Trump won, the market was going to push back. And oddly enough, even though most of the people that I know are Republican and they thought that was going to be the trade, the guys that were short were quickly swept out of those positions and they flipped long. And the market rallied to all-time highs and made moves that we weren't expecting. And to be quite frank, when I see the S&P trading at uh, over 6,000, um, it's pretty shocking, especially with the large gaps that we had. So, um, election euphoria was over, and within it was pretty interesting to see how in less than 3 days we basically were able to give back a huge portion of that Trump rally. The other things that were that came out were CPI that came in line, and then we had PPI, which came in hotter than expected. For those of you who don't know what PPI is, that's a producer price index. And the producer price is exactly what you think it is. It stands for producer prices. It's what the producers are paying to produce things. And if CPI comes down, you expect PPI to come down. Well, in this instance, CPI came directly in line, but PPI came in hotter. So what is that signaling? That's signaling that the producers are paying more than what the consumers are currently paying, which is an indication that the next CPI print might come in a little bit hotter than expected, because if producers are paying more than they should to manufacture something, who do you guys think is going to be uh who do you think, where do you think the end result of the difference of that negative loss is going to be made up by? Who do you think is going to compensate for those for the additional prices that the producers are paying? Can anyone guess? Can someone say something? Anyone? Type it in the live chat or ask us wherever it is. Somebody? If the producers are paying more, who do you think eventually is going to have to pay for that? Please feel free to answer the question and ask us main chat live. Anybody?
They're
Please.
everyone's saying end consumer
Where are they putting it?
in the
Oh,
live
they're putting
session chat.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yep, it ends up in the consumer. So let's use some logic here. Fundamental analysis. So if the producers are paying more, is there a higher probability that CPI in the next read is going to come in hotter or colder? What do you guys think? Let's just make an educated guess. Is it going to come in hotter or colder? There you go. So now that we know what happened this week, now we have to sit down and wait. And we have to figure out what's going to happen for the next couple of weeks. Because the upcoming data that we have, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, and maybe you can help me out with this one really quick. We do have another rate cut, right? We have the December rate cut, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So the
Wait, what?
December rate cut
Wait,
is
when?
right around the. I'm sorry, go ahead.
When? Because I'm trying to see it on the. First of all, can you hear me right? Is my mic good?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay. Because I have the economic reports coming for next week. What date are you talking about next week?
It's I think the December rate cuts. Hold on, I'll give you the exact dates. December rate cuts are scheduled for when? I want to say it's December 6th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was more talking about next week.
No, no, no. I
Yeah.
know. But I'm saying the next big event is going to be the December rate cut. But I
Okay.
can't remember what the exact date is. But prior to that, the only big thing that we have coming out next week that people should be concerned about, and to be quite frank, it's not even that big of a number. It's probably going to be the housing starts. Um, and then outside of that, there really isn't anything massive other than Nvidia.
Nvidia earnings. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that. Yeah, I mean, we are going to have the MBA mortgage applications that come out, and I think that's going to be on the 20th of November. But I think that there's no piece of economic data that's gonna like be as important as Nvidia earnings. Yeah, we do have jobless claims on the 21st, which is on a Thursday. But honestly, does anybody even care about jobless claims at that point when you have Nvidia on Wednesday? I don't know. I think the biggest piece of economic data that you're going to need to be paying attention to is going to be Nvidia. Outside of that, obviously jobless claims, but nothing that I'm going to sit here and say, "Oh my God, I have to be worried about this." No, it's going to be Nvidia, Nvidia, Nvidia.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's coming. It's unfortunate that there's just one stock that everyone says, oh, this earnings, it's gonna come up. If it doesn't, if it doesn't do well, the entire market's gonna crash. It's kind of annoying to hear that, because you don't want that to be reality, right? If for that to happen. But I feel like there's been a lot of weight on Nvidia, and when there's a lot of weight, you're always gonna find dumb investors, and dumb investors won't always exactly understand everything, and a lot of people end up having a high expectations, and if those high expectations are not met, and let's say they expect amazing earnings, but Nvidia just gives good earnings, I feel like you might see something similar to what happened last time, which is where Nvidia earnings was like okay, and the price of Nvidia just kind of trickled down after earnings, as you can see here. So the only concern for that is, compared to here, where you were, a little bit closer to the previous all-time highs, you're now past all-time highs. You're at new all-time highs, and you're kind of already testing previous all-time highs. So if let's say Nvidia doesn't do that well in earnings and investors are quick to do a sell-off, you're seeing like probably a sell-off to 116 on Nvidia, which is nice for in the terms of fact, like you could pick up shares and stuff like that. If it even breaks below this, then it's even great to buy it around $100 to $110. But then the thing that sucks about it is it's not like most other tech stocks, right? It's not like if this performs poorly, other tech stocks won't be affected. They will be, and that's the thing that's unfortunate about it, because all of these other setups that might be there on, let's say, stocks like Meta, Microsoft, and Google especially, since Google has been the lagging tech stock we've been talking about, it's going to be affected. Also, another one is AMD. JP can correct me on this. I'm not exactly sure how heavily AMD is affected by Nvidia earnings, but I think to some measure it is.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's going to be a huge sympathy trade,
yeah, I figured.
huge sympathy trade, in my opinion, honestly, because AMD seems to have well, let's not forget, Lisa Su was outside of Jamie Dimon the most loved CEO on Wall Street, right? Everybody knows that. Everybody loved Lisa Su. Lisa Su can do nothing wrong, right? Um, but AMD has become the ugly stepchild of the stock market right now. If you look at an AMD chart, I don't know if you can pop that open on your stream right now,
I
Kevin.
haven't. Can you see it?
Hold on. For some reason I can't. Oh, maybe because I'm in the wrong room. Good job, JP.
You
Yeah,
guys can
if you look
see.
at if you look at AMD, it it really hasn't done much.
No, it's not.
But if you look at the weekly, it hasn't done a parabolic move to the upside. It hasn't done a parabolic move to the downside in quite some time. On the contrary, it just seems to be trading inside of that range. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's definitely 180 to 127. When you look at it like that, it's a huge range, but it really it's inside of that rectangle, which is the no trade zone, right?
Yeah.
Because you never want to be inside of that rectangle. You want to trade the breakout above the rectangle or the breakdown below that rectangle. So I don't know. I think that if Nvidia beats earnings, I think AMD will get a sympathy trade off of it, but not to the momentum that it used to have because I think that um I want to say this the right way. AMD is so behind Nvidia at this point that there needs to be something that is just mind-boggling for it to go like it used to. Similar to what would happen with Tesla. Like, Tesla was trading sideways for so long, and then out of nowhere, now it's the sexiest thing to trade since sliced bread. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's one of those things. It's just it's not sexy to trade. I don't think it'll get that much sympathy. But if Nvidia beats the market, I think just keeps going, and it's going to create that rally for December.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I'm a perma bull, so I always want the bull case, but I actually can't believe I'm saying this. I genuinely want Nvidia to not do well on its earnings, just for the fact that I want it to not be so heavily weighted for the entire market sentiment. I just think that's completely unhealthy in terms of what's good for the market and not. and I think I want it to be a little like no matter what, the market's going to be tech heavy or tech oriented, for the foreseeable future. But I kind of want it to be a little bit weighted evenly when it comes to other tech stocks. But how much of a reality would that be? I'm not really sure. But if like for example, for my long term, like if Nvidia does come around this somewhere around this area, whether it be like 116 to 110, like I will be buying shares, especially around, this area right here. And then of course, Nvidia does always have an upward trajectory. If you go to a weekly chart, no matter what, like a bad earnings, yeah, it might bring it down a little bit, but it's not going to bring it back down such a substantial amount. Because no matter what, the financials on the company is just amazing, as you can clearly see. So it's not just like a pure hype stock, but it's just unfortunate to have such a good stock um, be heavily traded by dumb investors and have so much weight in how the market performs as a whole. As you guys may not know or may know, you have a lot of weight in stocks like Nvidia or the U.S. stock market because you have other central foreign banks like the Swedish banks that actually heavily invest a lot of their money into stocks like Nvidia and Apple and QQQ, right, the Nasdaq. So if they start selling their positions and another foreign central bank starts selling the positions on stocks like Nvidia, you can kind of see why I don't like exactly that Nvidia is where it is right now and how much focus it has. Um, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. When it comes to AMD, as JP said, it's nowhere close to Nvidia as of yet. Um, I don't know if it ever will be, but it's still a good company. I mean, I personally bought shares yesterday or Thursday, I believe, for my long term, just because it's around an area where it would be great for a bounce. As you can see here on the weekly, it's somewhat of a place where there could be a double bottom. But then, of course, there's the added risk of the upcoming sympathy trade with Nvidia's earnings. So there's that. But we're gonna move over to the tickers that we've been looking at. JP, I know you've been looking at a few more things compared to me as of late.
So many
So
things.
yeah, what do you want me to look at for you?
I want you to look at my Instagram and look at the latest picture I posted. What?
Oh
Sorry, that was
damn,
the
yeah,
inside voice.
yeah, yeah,
Inside voice.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Inside voice. Inside
yeah,
voice.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay,
SOXL.
sucks. Yeah. All right. So tell me what you see.
So, um, you're looking at the line chart. So that's exactly what I saw. I took SOXL long, um, on Friday, because I do believe that this is an area where we have a tendency to bounce. You can see that this is a huge support level at 26. I think that after having the market get beat to shit, and forgive me for being so vulgar, over the past couple of days, or the past couple of weeks, and seeing the semis be the biggest receiver of the blows, I think that those are going to be the ones that get bought up the fastest, especially going into NVIDIA earnings. And I think that SOXL was a safe trade to take on a bounce trade off support going into NVIDIA earnings. So I went long. Now, granted, if it does break below, I believe the level that I had was 2630 something. It does have a huge volume gap that needs to get filled all the way down to I think it's around 22 or 23.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to take a risk on a long off that bounce. That's something that I took long. And then if you look at extended trading hours, if you
Ew.
just look at like
All right. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Let me look.
yeah, if you look at extended trading hours, and you go to a smaller time frame and you go to like a 30 minute, yeah, you'll see that it had a pop right at the close.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that there's going to be some upside momentum to this. This was one of the tickers that I was looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. This tracks over. Give us some tickers that it tracks exactly. Like TSM.
SOXL is a 3x direct C on bull on the semis.
Yeah.
So it looks at AMD, NVIDIA, Intel, Qualcomm,
JP. You cut off.
what the SOXL tracks.
You cut off. You said AMD, Avgo, NVIDIA,
AMD, Qualcomm,
TSM.
NVIDIA, Intel, Taiwan Semiconductors,
Okay,
ARM. It's all in the semis. It's
gotcha,
basically it's the 3x direction of the semiconductors um, in the stock market. So
gotcha.
I want to be long semis going into NVIDIA, so I might as well trade the semiconductor ETF.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good area. Just looking at it, it's prior resistance that turned support multiple times.
Mhm.
It's definitely a little bit risky because you could see here that the kind of seeps in a little bit below the support. But as you said,
Yeah,
it's a risk you're willing to take, especially heading into Nvidia earnings. And
yeah,
after it's if we go to a weekly chart, it's not too sharp of a movement down. At least there's
yeah,
some buy ups you could see the previous weeks, which do represent the buyers that are present
yeah.
within here. So it's not a completely, it's like there's still bulls here, so it's just nice to see. So,
Yeah, and I like the after hours trade on it.
uh huh.
Then the other trade that I told you that I had taken was, and I was talking to most of the people here that were here earlier, was yeah, exactly, Dexcom. And I told them why I took this, and I told them how I showed it to you about how the bull sweepers came in and they were buying the $100 March contracts. And it looks like what it's going to do is it's going to try to fill that gap, right, all the way to the upside. This was a trade that I took about 4 days ago,
Hmm.
and you can see exactly where it bounced. I did trim my position. And I am playing with runners right now. And if it does come back down to the original entry that I had, I will buy more because I do still think that it has that gap to fill all the way to over $100. So I really like this trade. For those of you that don't know what Dexcom is a company that primarily focuses on developing the little monitor for measuring glucose levels for people with diabetes. So I think this is a phenomenal trade. I mean, it got wrecked for no reason on earnings, right? Even though it
Yeah.
beat it. But it was weird because it's one of those stocks that has consistently beat earnings, but some people love to hate it for no rhyme or reason. So I'm looking at that and I'm long that. I think that's a solid trade, and I think it still has more room to the upside. And playing March contracts for a cheap price with a low theta is a safe bet.
You got you got 50 or 60% of these, right? So far?
I hit 50%, but I trimmed at 45.
Okay. All right.
So
Yeah.
now I got one runner left, and I'm playing with my profits so that if it comes back down to my entry and it holds support, I will be adding more.
Yeah, I personally like this
Now my
is
trade is risk free. You know what I mean? I'm risk free. I'm only playing with profits.
yeah, no, absolutely. You know me, I love getting my trades into risk-free positions. But this is also I'm glad you brought this up, JP, because you did talk about it to me a while back. This is also a great long-term trade that I would personally get into, especially for shares, because then you break above this 79.55 resistance, and you break above and you come back and test somewhere near this level that it just broke out of. This could, as
Yeah.
JP said, this could be a great trade to hold for the potential gap fill, which would be a range of let's see, let's say we entered around $83. That's
Well,
29%,
dude, it's
right?
huge
Yeah,
upside potential on that.
yeah.
It's huge.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I like it. I definitely like it.
Yeah.
Never heard of
And
this
then the
company
last
until you talked
thing,
about it. Yeah.
and then the last thing that I want to put out before we jump into what you were looking at, and I told you there's actually two more tickers, and I hate to bring this one up, so I'm gonna leave it for the end. But the next one is Verizon. For the guys
Okay.
that were already in here, we spoke about that. Look at Verizon, man. Jesus Christ.
Uh,
I mean, that's just top. You couldn't ask for a better setup, honestly.
nope.
You really can't.
This is
Bounce off support, beautiful bounce off support, has a massive gap to fill to the upside. Not massive, but it has a $43 gap to fill. Yeah. There's a time you know what? I wasn't even playing that trend line. I was playing that if you go back to that VRVP, to what you were looking at, you were looking at the daily. I
Yep, this
played it
volume
off that
shelf.
daily. Look at that right
Yeah.
there. Boom. Yeah. Those buyers didn't were not going to let it go. And when I was looking at the level twos, I mean, the amount of buyers that were stepping in at around $40, the way that they were slapping that, it was just because it felt right around 40-40, which is a level that I have marked. I don't know if you can draw that level on your chart. Literally 40-40. It's right on the money. You just have to go up a little bit, 40-40. That 40-40 level, there was some degenerate psychopath who was either drunk or high on something that bought 250,000 shares at 40-40.
Wow, what a nerd.
Yeah, so I did the math on that and I was like, okay, this guy has more money than me ever will. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, that's going to be an important level. So I think for that gap fill, and it's Verizon, pays a nice dividend. It's down for no reason. And communication services keep going up, and I think that's just a solid trade. So I took the 43 January calls for that trade, and I think that's an easy trade to take, and I think it's an easy upside. I believe that I closed on that position. I took it at like 130 on Friday, and I think my contracts were up like 20% at the close.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm glad that you got into Verizon because I'm actually long Verizon on my long term.
AT&T. Oh, I thought you were long AT&T.
No, so I was long, yeah, so I was long AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. T-Mobile and AT&T I'll get into a second. But you could see here, like, we've been always talking about it, when it comes to sectors, it's always very important to find lagging stocks in a sector. And for the communications, that's what Verizon is. Because as you can see here, Verizon did have some bullish movement from November 2023, which is last year. But then for the past, actually complete, almost, what is that? August is how many months? That's like 8 months, right? 8 months. It's just been in the complete range. So you finally broke out of that range. And as I said, one of the easiest ways to trade is to wait for price to break above strongly, above a resistance, and then come down and test it. And that's exactly what we did. We came back. We tested the level that I broke out of, which is the 40-40 level that JP was talking about. And this is now a confirmed support because we did bounce off of the supports, which means that this is a valid entry for longs. I'm personally long on Verizon as well. The upside potential is pretty big on this. For those who don't know, you can always project where a price can potentially move for any trade that you're in using a thing called fib extensions. Fib extensions kind of are similar to how you'd use Elliott waves. And you could see here the upward potential for Verizon is all the way up to $48 and $50. I did buy leaps for Verizon a bit back. I bought the $50 call leaps. Unfortunately, even though Verizon had okay earnings, the revenue was down, which caused the leaps to unfortunately just
Mhm.
lose in value. But I bought the leaps again because I do see upward potential for Verizon. And
The
as I said,
revenue was down. The revenue wasn't down that much
it
though.
was just
It was
down
only down
0.36
120
cent.
million, 120
Yeah,
million. Yeah, it
exactly.
was garbage.
I
Yeah.
know. That's why I was like confused too. I'm like, damn, like it's a good trade. I don't know why it just sold off and the premiums and the contracts just died off. It's unfortunate, but it's just the risks to trading. So
You
I
want to know what
re-ent
it is though? I can
what?
tell you why.
Why?
Because everyone had been betting so heavily on the telecommunication sector.
Uh huh.
Everyone was earnings out of the water. I mean, that was the talk of town, like on institutional levels. Like I was talking to my buddy Chris, that he's one of the head traders over at Slatestone, and he was like, "Dude, communication services is the way to go. It's gonna be the next thing." Da, 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 da. And then when earnings came out for this, and they didn't blow it out of the water, I think everyone was like, "Holy crap!" I guess you know self you people really don't care about those cell phone bills as much as they used to, because everyone always says, "Oh, what's the first thing you pay? Your electricity and your cell phone bill." So you know that people would rather default on their credit cards than lose their cell phone. Am I right or am I wrong?
Oh no, absolutely. People can't go
Yeah, so
without their
I guess
phones.
that was kind of the shocker, by the way. Oh,
Yeah.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but did you see what happened with Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T over the weekend?
No.
They got hacked.
Oh wow,
There
that's
was
good.
there was an attack by a Chinese hacker group,
By the Patel
and
brothers.
they
Oh okay.
apparently jacked a bunch of data from all three of the majors.
Well, at least it wasn't my cousin Patel's, who hacked them. So that's good to hear. Um,
Well, Chinese, Indian, they're the same thing. So
Wow. Okay. All right. We're gonna move away from that comment. But you could see here, we've always talked about, JP and I, how important it is to find lagging stocks, and in communications, Verizon was definitely the lagging stock. As you could see here, the range, but when you compare it to AT&T, you could see the clear upward momentum it's had. If you move over to T-Mobile, which is TMUS, you can obviously see T-Mobile was even stronger than AT&T. And, it's funny, a lot of people don't realize another stock that's considered as communications is Meta. And you could also see its amazing rally it's had the past year. But, these stocks are, especially Meta, as having a little bit of a bearish sentiment. And then if you look at this watch list I have over here, if we go to the communications, if you go over to Google, Netflix, all the different stocks that are in communications, you can see everything's been rallying, but a strong company like T-Mobile has not been really finding its way to the upside. But now it's finally getting the momentum it possibly needs to go up there. But yeah, good.
can you guess if actually, you know what? I'll Venmo you money for a pizza. Do you know
What?
why Meta is considered to be also a communications
Because it's
sector
one of the
stock?
most widely used
No, it's not.
messaging things.
No, close. No.
WhatsApp?
There you go.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah, I'm Indian, bro. What do you mean? WhatsApp is our freaking like holy grail. Are you kidding me? Every auntie and uncle uses it.
And then I'm gonna give you one last one, which I think we should all talk about, and it's Nike.
If there's ever a week where you don't talk about Nike, go ahead.
Ah,
I don't like that daily close though, JP. I know you were
no, you
J
don't like that.
JP was looking at this on Friday, and mid Friday he called me. He's like, "Hey, you know, Nike's looking really good here. There's this trend line's about to break. Are you in these calls? Are you gonna get in them?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna wait in your close." He's like, "It looks really good. Are you still gonna wait?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna wait." And lo and behold, unfortunately, like this would have been a really, really great trade, and I was on board with JP, but it like that daily close. I'm not saying it's bearish, but it's not as strong as I want it to be.
I know, but oh,
Yeah.
I was so. If go to that 30-minute chart, go to the 30-minute. Look at that. Look right that. Oh my
Yep.
God, right there. Oh,
If
I
it
was. I was.
closed, I know. If it closed like this,
Oh,
that would have been amazing.
yeah. I was gonna take them right there, but then for some reason I got like that my little beep 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 on Verizon, and I'm like, what the, you know? And I went to Verizon. I said I have two choices. A, I take Verizon. B, I take Netflix. Which one do I think is going to be least affected by anything that comes out next week? And I went with Verizon. I really did. I just yeah, I really like Nike though. I just think it's undervalued at $76.
It is. I just think you are looking at it very long term. It is very undervalued. That's just a fact. It's leading in its category. I believe there's no shoe company that really comes close to Nike, and especially having the brand that Nike has. But I just think it needs time because you could consider it as a safe haven, right? Let's say,
Is it though? Is it a safe haven? I mean, even though I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's retail.
yeah, and
It
retail is
is.
still considered sometimes as as the safe haven, don't you
Sure.
think?
I mean, it's a
Okay,
consumer cyclical. It's a
okay.
consumer cyclical.
Here's my big brain move since you always go big brain. when people go broke, they obviously want to feel like they're special, so they're gonna go buy Nike shoes. All right, there you go. Boom. Nike to $90, 2025. All right, 2025
Yeah.
March.
The
It's
only thing
gonna
that worries me about Nike is
what?
if we get bad news out of China.
It's Donald Trump. Why would you get bad news?
I'm talking about the production front out of China. If sales in China and production in China slows down, Nike's going to be one of the first ones to dump. How long has it been trading inside of this range? Can you look at the weekly?
Yeah. Talking about this range.
Yep.
This
What is that?
is from August, so that's what 3 months. It's August,
Look at
September,
that, dude. We
October.
can't break
Yeah.
below, what is that, 75?
Yeah, 75.13.
And we can't break above what?
We can't break above 89.95.
I mean, oh, and that Renko chart looks ugly. Oh
Yeah.
God, she is. I do not want to take that girl on a date. Oh my God.
No, I'm glad you didn't get into it, JP. That's all
Yeah.
I gotta say. I get what you're saying, but it just needs time, man.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ackman also. I think Ackman bought more shares. I think there was a note on the actual chart itself.
Hmm.
If you look at it on the little green, that little weird symbol thing there.
Oh,
If you click
yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
yeah, not yeah, he built like.
Me, I no, it definitely has upward potential, as I said. I just didn't like it for a swing right then for options because I like making sure I have the best or efficient entry. But for shares, it's not a complete bad area because let's say for example, God forbid,
Complete
Nike does come,
diarrhea. Wow.
huh?
Complete diarrhea, you say?
No, no, I didn't say that. But um, like even if you buy shares, the worst case scenario, you do have this support range right over here between 71 and 74. So like for shares, this is I would personally say it's not a bad buy, but for options, I don't think it's safe just yet. Um, yeah, I mean I
We only, by the way, the reason I keep talking about stuff
hmm,
is because we only have one person asking us about tickers.
that's fine.
Only one person has asked us about snow. No one else has asked us about anything else.
No, they have. It's in the other. It's
Oh,
in
I'm
the
sorry. You're
usual.
right.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
looking at. Oh, yeah, you're right. I was looking at the wrong chat.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh,
But yeah, so we're gonna. Was there any other stocks you wanted me to look at, or should I move
oh,
on
we
to
can
mine?
just before we move on, before we go on to everybody else, and then we start after that. We'll start talking about indicators and what we use. Can you just ruin my life and look at hymns?
Oh, yeah, something you definitely need. Look, yeah. What about this?
Does anybody in the chat know why hymns went down? I would like some participation. I know. Look, Silent Tree is gonna. God damn it, Silent Tree. You guys don't count. JPEG and Silent Tree don't count. Yes, you're right. The Amazon telehealth services. They, how can they? I swear to God, Jeff Bezos, like Hims
You
was
see
about to
the?
break out. It was
Uh,
about to break out. It was gonna go parabolic like nuts. And right before it does, oh my God, we're gonna do Amazon does the telehealth services BS. Like, come on, man. And it didn't even go down a little bit. It went down a lot, bro. Like a lot. Like scary lot. Like, wasn't it like at $30 and it dumped to like 18?
yeah, yeah. Well, it was at
It's terrifying, bro.
$32 and it came down to 19.32.
I was gonna buy $50 calls for next week.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God.
Dude, this is ruined. This thing, it's gonna go down to 15. It could,
I don't know about that.
dude, look at it.
I
If
I
it
know.
breaks, it could go. I think I had a level like a 12.
Okay, JP, it's
I,
not
I
gonna
think
go.
there's a level at 12.
Right. Yes, it does have very steep movement
Oh
to the
my God.
downside, but I don't think it's going to completely die off. Stocks like this, whenever they get volatile movements like this, usually plays with their feelings for a reason, right? You have this volatile movement to the upside, everyone's like, oh my God, I gotta buy. And then it moves down to the bottom. It's like, oh my God, it's gonna die. And then it's gonna move back up eventually. Usually, that's the way things go.
Eventually,
What?
I mean, eventually it could go back up, but dude, that is a scary dump, bro.
Uh, that's the thing, unfortunately, with stocks that become very volatile. Price doesn't always sync up as much as you want to when it comes to it. But you could see here, like, one thing that HIMS does have is around this range, since it has been ranging a little bit beforehand. It does have these two levels here at 1877 and 1680. So you
What's
have
the
this
bigger
little buy
downside?
zone.
Give
Huh?
me the bigger downside.
I'm not gonna give you the bigger downside because I don't think it's gonna go that low.
No, 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 but I'm just saying, let's just hypothetically say that it does. What are we looking at here?
Okay, fine, JP. If you really want to go that far, what you're looking at is, I'll show you.
Oh, wow, you're drawing that fib extension from all the way back there?
Yeah,
You're using the base of $2? Really?
that's how you do it. Yeah. Worst case
What?
scenario
Oh,
is 1339, and then worst case scenario is 1877, 877. But I don't think there's just it's almost
bruh,
very impossible to reach there.
bruh,
At least you know.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So then 1339 is like worst case. Yeah, you could sit here and say, hey, there's a double top, but I mean, yeah.
Stupid Jeff Bezos.
But yeah. Yeah. We're gonna move on from hymns
Yeah,
actually
I'm
to
done.
one.
I'm done. That's pretty much it.
One stock I want to bring up to attention is shoot,
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is considered a safe haven, and safe haven is basically stocks that are considered to be a safer bet during a market recession. You could see here on the weekly time frame that Coca-Cola is coming back to a prior resistance that was very strong in the past, and it's testing it right now. And let's say you do get a nice bounce off of this, and as you can see, even though the weekly candle is strong on this, the daily candles were somewhat, becoming a little bit smaller near the end, except for Friday, of course. But we do have some little buying volume over here on Friday. I personally actually bought shares on Coca-Cola. I started a starter position. I want to see how it reacts to here. I think even if it, comes down a little bit, I don't think it surpasses any point below, $60.32. But that's for shares. That's for shares. For calls, for options, right? I'm gonna wait for consolidation around this area. I don't think it's gonna be a strong bounce. I don't want it to be. I would rather wait for it to have some consolidation. And I know for a fact one day, it's probably gonna be a Tuesday, JP's gonna be like, hey, look at Coca-Cola, bro. What do you think of calls? And that's going to be the time when I'd want to get into calls when it comes to Coca-Cola. But I bought shares here. I think it's a safe area to buy shares, at least when it comes to the starter position. And then, later on, if it does come down, there's, as you can see, within a range, there's countless amounts of support. So there's multiple areas where I can buy shares for when it comes to this.
Want to
Uh,
know what? I'm
yeah.
gonna beg to differ with you. I think
Okay.
that if Robert Kennedy Jr., who
Yeah.
I actually think would be phenomenal for the Secretary of Health, if he does get nominated, I think Coca-Cola and Pepsi have a long way down.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, because think about it. Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, all that stuff is so unhealthy, and his main priority is to try to eliminate anything that is causing like literally poisoning people's bodies. And like Diet Coke is full of that crap that literally like kills you from the inside, and Diet Coke too, and all that stuff. So if they're going to put stricter regulations on whatever it is that's being put inside of food or drinks in the United States, companies like Coca-Cola and Pepsi that benefit off the fast food and quick fix service, quick fix meaning exactly what it is, like you have a cookie, a burger, a Coke, whatever it is, they're gonna get wrecked, bro. Yeah, aspartame. That's what it is. They're gonna get wrecked.
I remember,
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Listen, I wouldn't be
yeah.
surprised if he does get nominated and Coca-Cola pushes all the way down, probably to the $50 range. At which point, I think Warren Buffett will just buy the entire company. Just no, but I mean,
Um,
just I'm just
yeah.
looking at it from that perspective, like government regulation bullshit.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I do like the 30-minute and the 2 hour
Oh
for
no, no, yeah, for
Coca-Cola.
sure.
Yeah. But I
It's
do,
beat to shit. It's beat to shit.
say that again?
It's beat to shit, and it's too big
Oh,
to fail.
absolutely. Yeah, you got that whole thing going on. I felt like there was one stock I wanted to talk about. Wow, I said that too loud. Hilton. Hilton, I took puts. I'm not a huge puts guy, but I did take puts for it recently
But you've
on
been doing the
Thursday.
same thing over and over. You've been bearish on the hospitality sector for a while.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, I took puts on it on Thursday. I took it myself. I couldn't, post it in time, cause I
You
got
were
the whole.
bullish on Expedia.
I was, but okay, look, yeah, but okay, hold on. Look at this chart, right? Expedia was bullish on 2 months ago, and it's still bullish. Look at this. Look at that bull flag. It's
Yeah, it
still
is a
amazing.
bullseye. Wait,
Yeah. I
it
said it
is.
was bullish all the way. When did I say it? Right here.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's been amazing since then. I mean, my long term benefited a lot from this, from the Expedia trade. But the Hilton, and then as we said earlier, like T-Mobile, it looks like it won a little retracement. So I got puts on those earlier on Thursday. They did decently well. The only stock I saw that was bullish really was Square.
Hold on. Before you move to Square, go back to Hilton really quick because I just want to pick your brain on this.
Yeah.
Why would you be bearish going into seasonals? I
Well,
mean, into travel season. Why would you be bearish?
I'm not bearish long term. I'm just bearish for
No,
two
no, but it's
days.
like, are you talking? You're just bearish because of a possible retracement before a bigger push to the upside? Is that? Are you just taking a short-term trade here?
Yeah, I'm not talking about like a, drop all the way to 185.
Right.
I'm just
Come on,
talking
bro.
about
What is that? What do you think that is? Hymns?
yeah,
What
yeah, I'm
what's your
just
target on this to the downside?
right here, 244 double bottom and then going up to the upside. It's probably
What
gonna
is that about $4 5 that move down?
yeah, and the thing is the
What you take the
contracts
240 puts?
40 no, I got the I'll tell you right now. I got the 230 puts.
What? What?
Yeah, 230.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Because I also get contracts based on where I think it possibly might go, and I'm very greedy when it comes to trading. So I like choosing things, or like the best case scenario. Because if it goes there, then my contracts will go a decent amount, right? So my thing is okay. Most probable thing is yes, it might come down here, double bottom. Not actually test this gap, but if it does come test this gap, that's a straight shoot down to 230. I think JP, I know you're very right about the end of season rally. I honestly think the end of season rally might come a little bit later than what it usually does. But I might be completely
Really?
wrong. Yeah, I mean, if you look at all these charts, there's like no bull setups. Everything looks. If you just look at it as a technical setup, everything looks like it's primed for a little bit of a sell off, and then because usually I know exactly what you're talking about. The end of year rallies usually start like in November itself. I think it starts a little bit later in December, or at least like early December,
Really?
versus now. Yeah, I mean, tell me one chart that's tech or anything like that that's bullish. You can't.
I
Like
can't
you
tell you anything that's bullish.
exactly like I can literally go through my entire watch list with
High five. High five is being a complete asshole and saying NVIDIA.
yeah, I'm sorry, bro. Nvidia ain't bullish, man. I mean, I'm the biggest bull you ever see, and that ain't bullish, homie. Like, the only thing you got going for you is the fact that it's testing prior resistance, and that's it. And that's not really a bull flag, right? It's like one thing you always have to look at is price action to a certain point, And if you, one thing that's very key that I don't like about NVIDIA is this area right here and this
That's
area
scary.
right here. Yeah, exactly. So when you look at the candles over here, the bull candles, they're not very strong. Like this bull candle is the ugliest candle you ever see. It's like the unwanted candle that you put on a birthday cake. You know, it's just like where's that wick going and where's the body going? It's like, couples that's about to divorce, and then you see this candle. This is weak. 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 This is weak.
Oh, look at I didn't even notice that
Yeah,
was an inside bar candle.
exactly. And
Uh,
look at this. Yeah, go ahead.
no, no, that right. No, no, go, move your mouse down, right, right,
Hello.
down. Look at
This
that
one.
inside bar candle. To the left,
This.
left
This.
down, left
Left.
down, left down,
This.
down. Yeah, that look at
Oh,
that
okay.
inside bar candle.
Yeah.
That's an
I suck with
ugly,
my
and that's a
terminology.
that's a that's a bullish candle.
Yep.
No, that's a bearish candle.
No.
What color is your what color is your bullish candles? Your bullish candles are what? White?
They're white. Let me change it to the normal, I guess. Let's,
Jesus.
which one is it? There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that inside bar candle on a green day. That's not good.
Nope. Not at all. Like
All right.
that's yeah. No, you bring a valid point. I'm glad you pointed that out. Like, when you have a rally, of course, you don't want to fight the trend, and I'm not saying I'm gonna fight the trend. I'm a bull anyway. But that's the reason you don't see me ever taking Nvidia swings, because the upside potential is lower than what it used to be. I used to take, if you guys remember, I used to take Nvidia swings down here, down here, but I'm not taking it in this range because this is overextended. It's primed for a pullback. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but and also additional to that, you always need to, if you get into a swing, you always need to look at the prior price action movement, and this doesn't really show that much, bullish indication. And you could see here, and I JP actually I think I can explain this part. You could see here, for example, that someone posted the hot contract NVIDIA 155 call. A lot of people will think, oh my god, someone's buying so many calls, but they're not buying calls. They're actually selling calls. And if you guys actually know the way options work. If you buy calls, you're the sentiment you're buying. So if you buy puts, you're obviously bearish. You buy calls, you're obviously bullish. But when you sell calls, you're actually bearish. And when you
You're
sell
hitting the
puts,
bid
you're
side.
exactly. And then when you're hitting the bid side, that means you're selling a contract. So the fact that you start seeing, option chains showing or option pools showing NVIDIA 155 calls or any other calls that
And
pop up on the
getting on the
option flow,
bid, that's the sell. Those are people
yeah,
shorting the calls.
exactly. So I didn't even see the option flow for NVIDIA, but I'm glad you brought that up. So I know a lot of servers do have option flow. Do keep in mind, you have to really pay attention to what side the contracts are. Just because you see calls are being bought does not mean, oh, that's bullish. If you see bid side, that means it's bearish, or the opposite. So if you see like a put and it's a bid side, that's bullish. If you see a call and a bid side, that's bearish. So just always keep that in mind. But yeah, like as I was saying, you can't go through any tech stock and tell me a bullish setup here, and that's the only reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, JP. And I mean, I'm the biggest bull out there, but like, I mean, like, look at this IBM. IBM even has a bearish setup. I don't like that IBM has a bearish setup. I love IBM, and it's probably gonna go down to 199. And Qualcomm looks like it's on death row. Like, look at this weekly chart. You know,
Qualcomm looks horrible. Look at that head and shoulders.
Yeah, yeah. It's just ugly here. Like I can, you could go at JP. I can literally go through this entire watch list. Like it's unfortunate because I'm a bull, and then you start seeing Kevin posting like all these puts, like AMD puts, Meta puts. Unfortunately, it's so frustrating. I got Meta puts on Friday, and I exited for 17%, and those puts actually went for 700%. So tell me how crazy that is. But you could see here the massive sell-off of Friday causing almost all of these stocks to look bearish. Like, I don't know. You guys could tell me, do you personally see any bull setups on tech? Because I see nothing. Like, the
You
only
want to
thing.
know what stock
What?
we were bullish on,
Oh, wow. Look at you.
and we
Yeah.
got riggedy wrecked.
Ooh,
We didn't
what?
take the trade, but we thought this thing was going to go. Look at Unity.
Oh,
We would have gotten freaking wrecked.
yeah, we were looking right over here.
Yeah, and they beat earnings too.
Crazy, crazy. Yep. Like you literally can't find a single bullish setup. And like I was literally going on Friday. You know, I was going through my entire watch list to find something where I can add onto my long term, and I'm not
I mean,
finding anything.
Dexcom was the only one that I saw that I was really like, oh, okay. And then, of course, I mean, I don't like trading crypto. You know, I don't believe in it at all as an asset class. But like, Coin was bullish, Mastercard and Visa were bullish. You know, I don't touch that. Um, the banking sector was bullish, like Wells Fargo and Bank of
Oh,
America were
Bank of
bullish.
America, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think, like, oh God, I'm just trying to God, what was it? Johnson and Johnson. Johnson and Johnson was
Had a
bullish
nice
as a,
day. Yeah.
oh my God, look, Johnson and Johnson was ready to go. I regret not getting into that. Look at that. Look at that.
I mean, I like this candle on Thursday, but I don't like this candle on Friday. That's just me though.
I wish I would have gotten into that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that this wait, JP, are you gonna do the thing you said you need to do, or are you gonna be on?
Yeah, yeah, keep on going. It takes me 2 minutes. I'll just, yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. But yeah, like I genuinely didn't find any bull setup. The only bull setup I found was on Square, and that itself it wasn't like beautiful, beautiful. You know, if I go out to the weekly, that ain't that ain't a great candle to begin with. So, um, you know, it's unfortunate because I was going through my long term, like things I could get for my long term on Friday, and I ended up not buying any shares, but instead I ended up buying long term puts, and I was like, oh my god, Kevin, what have you become? Buying long term puts? That's just that's just absolutely insane. But yeah, we're gonna quickly go over a few tickers, and then we're gonna go to the what's it called? The whole indicators thing we're gonna talk about. But I got a question here that I'm gonna quickly go over since I was talking about it. Someone asked, Kevin, can you go over the long-term puts you entered on Friday? Do you think the market's gonna have a downturn? I don't want to be as bold to say, oh, this is gonna have a downturn, but I don't see much that's gonna indicate that it's gonna have an upturn. And then I'm gonna share this watch list. It's still a work in progress. This watch list I have over here actually took me 5 hours in total to complete. What it does is it takes the S&P 500 and it divides them into sectors. So if you guys know or might not know, there's the different spiders which breaks down each sector. So for example, XLK is like tech versus XLI is like industrial, and XLV is like health. So if you actually, I'll show this really quickly before I dive into what I was saying. If you actually go onto this website, do I have it? Yeah, if I, it's called the Sectors SPDR. You see it breaks down all the different sectors that are in the S&P 500, and these are all ETFs you guys can trade with options. If you guys have traded with me before, like you remember the XLV call that we took that went a decent amount, it went up to 180%. And it's pretty nice to trade these. They move consistent, they move strong, they're not dumb to trade. They're very like safe, safe things to trade because they're technically the S&P 500. So I took each stock and I basically made it for each sector. So like XOK, which is technology, I put it out in terms of like the weight it has in the ETF. So for example, the most weighted stock is NVDA, second is Apple, third is Microsoft, and the least weighted stock on tech is some stock named QRVO. So I'll post this once it's done. I've got all the sectors done, but of course, not every single stock is in the S&P 500. So I'll post it once I'm done. But I'm going to talk about the long-term puts I got. Uh, these aren't all poised to, exactly go the way I want, but they were some of the more bearish setups that I saw, especially on the daily. Like you could go over here. This is one put that I took. I took the DOV 195 puts for December 20th. It's not exactly so long term, but it's like that's what, like 4 weeks out or something. You can see here one of my favorite patterns to trade on any stock is always the ascending scallop, right? It's a very easy pattern to trade. Similar to the ascending scallop, there's also a descending scallop, so that's what I'm trading here. I just wanted it to test around this area of the previous 195, so that's why I got the 195 puts. The next one I talked about, which is Qualcomm. Qualcomm, I got puts on this as well. I want to see a test of 157 and then 151. I got the 150 puts for Qualcomm for December 27th, so that's another somewhat of a longer term put that I got. Another one I got, I already told you guys, I got the KO shares, but I got, I know some people have heard of this, but it's called Take Two Corporation. I also got puts on these. The daily candles have just been weak, the past 3 days, especially with Friday being a bearish thing, a bearish candle. So I took the 170 puts. I wanted it to test around 168. So those are the puts that I got. I just want to quickly go over why I got into them. But just because I got into them does not mean I think, like NVDA is going to crap on its earnings or the market's just going to go on a down run. If you, I wish I could pull up the post that I saw on Twitter a while back, but what it showed was the premiums on the market are kind of getting very small, which means that there's a possible indication that the upside potential for majority of tech stocks and majority of traded stocks are actually not that there's not so much upside left in most of the market, right? You go into almost any major tech stock like NVIDIA and Apple and stuff like that. And I literally went through how like 1/4 of my watch list for all tech stock. Like you can't pick a bullish setup. So that's why I got the puts. I always get calls when I can, but I couldn't really see calls anywhere except on Square, which that itself, like I showed you the weekly. Look at the weekly on Square. Like the daily looks okay, but the weekly looks ugly as hell. But moving on to, we'll go over just a few tickers before we go over the indicators part. One that's always been talked about since we've been doing these live sessions has been BA. You guys can see on my weekly chart exactly what I'm looking at here. You have the falling wedge.
138.
Yep, and it's reaching the JP 138 level. So there's that. I'm still bullish on this, but I'm not bullish on it right away. I think it definitely Friday was a nice close. These are candles I like taking calls on. I just unfortunately didn't take them because I didn't want to risk taking. There was a lot of bull setups that didn't play out on Boeing, so I'd rather wait for it to break above 145, come down, retest this, and then I'll gladly take calls to the upside. I am gonna load up on shares soon for my long term. Because I mean, once this, there's a famous saying, you never bet against the American companies, and that's very true. And Boeing is obviously an American company, and I think once it gets out of this range, especially this falling wedge, it has a definite upside potential here. So I wanna eventually buy shares, load up on shares. I'm gonna buy it soon if it comes down or if it gives a supported confirmed support, and I'd want to test 192 and eventually 262. Do I think it's gonna break out of this range to 262? Maybe not. Really depends on how everything goes next year with Trump's presidency. But yeah. Let's see. JP, any quick thing you want to say about Boeing before I move on?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, all right. J&J, we already briefly talked about it. It had a really, how was its earnings? I forgot. I think it did okay on earnings, right? It did good on earnings, but it still came down. But as JP said, he wish he got into it. This is a nice level to get into longs for Johnson Johnson. As you can see, it's a prior support, turn into resistance, turn into support, and it's again support right now. And you could see even though price seeped below this point in the past, it's still crept up afterwards. So I wish I got J&J with JP. Wait, do I have? I do have J&J shares. Okay, I do have J&J shares. I just don't have a great entry on them. But I do have J&J shares. I think I got them around I got them around this level, which is 155. So I'm down a little bit, but not too much. But I do have J&J. Anything you want to add that? Sorry, anything you want to add on that, JP, or no?
No,
No.
Procter and Gamble was something that was interesting.
Wait, no, we'll get into That I just want to get over the tickers that
Yeah,
people
because we're
requested.
talking about this sector, like, you know, it's I hate to compare Procter and Gamble to like Johnson and Johnson, but I think I look at Johnson and Johnson as more than just like a, vaccine company or like, you know what I mean? Like they have
I think of the baby
shampoos and
powder.
all this crap and all this stuff. And Procter and Gamble, they make toothpaste and all this stuff. Like they both have that similar setup, man.
Yeah,
You know, as opposed to these heavily pharmaceutical based companies like
Pfizer.
AbbVie or Pfizer. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm with
I
you
kind
on
of want
that.
to keep an eye on Johnson and Johnson and Procter and Gamble.
I personally like Johnson Johnson a little bit more than PG, just because PG is good, but PG is higher up than Johnson
You know
Johnson.
that
That's the
I
only
used to
reason why.
own Procter and Gamble at like $70 a share.
Hey, JP, what happened?
I mean, it was years ago.
I'm just kidding. What price point did you sell at?
I had it at $70.
No, you got it, but what price did you sell at?
I don't want to talk about it.
Now tell me. I want to know now.
I don't want to talk about
Come on.
it. No, we
The
can
world
move
wants to
on.
hear it. No? Okay. All right.
No,
All
no,
right.
we can
All
move on.
right. All right. All right. Fine. 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 All right. UPS. UPS, one of JP's favorite stocks in the world. Had a nice
Yep,
close on Friday. It's unfortunate because it's been stuck in this range. So it's been a little bit infuriating, especially for investors like JP here, because it gives you a false sense of a rally, especially back
yep,
here when it broke away.
yep.
But nope. It came right back down. Um,
The thing with UPS, it's that it's such a it's such a demon to trade on the options chains because you can be up like 40% like out of nowhere, and then you can be down like 70% out of nowhere too because the spreads are so freaking wide.
yeah.
So like you can take 100, and the thing is they're not cheap either. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna take the 140 calls, and you buy them at like $1.25, and then they're like at 70 cents the next day. It sucks.
Yeah, no, it's weird how volatile the contracts move.
It's because the spread is horrible.
Yeah, reminds me of Netflix a while back.
It's even worse than Netflix.
Yeah, damn. I mean, I haven't
It's a
traded
tough,
UPS
it's a tough
contracts.
thing to trade. You almost have to like buy 3 months out, and just
Mm-hmm.
like whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, the last time I bought UPS calls was actually I know you remember this back in July, for this
Yeah,
rally here, and I know this is also when you were looking at it, you're like, oh, this is really good. It's finally gonna break. I remember your exact words. You're like, Kevin, this is a really good trade. I wish I got into it, but it's finally gonna break out of this trend line. It's been
they didn't do anything.
rejecting. And lo and behold, I had earnings and it just completely went down the gutter. And then,
It took the biggest dump of life.
I mean, but here's a good thing. It broke above this power resistance, which is 129.97. It's shown that it's able to stay above it, and then you have a nice little bull flag here. Additional to this, you know, all of this. So this is good. I wish actually I saw UPS on Friday itself, because I personally would have taken calls on this. At least tested the 136 area. This would have been a
But they're
nice
so
40%.
expensive too, dude. They're like $2.70. What would you have taken? The 140s?
Hold on, I think TradingView has an options thing now. Let me see. Options chain. So I would take the December 6th contracts. They're not expensive. What are you talking about?
How much are the 140s?
I'm looking at December 6th. What contract, what expiration are you talking about?
November 29th.
Is this wrong?
I
The
think
one,
that's wrong.
is this off? Because apparently, according to,
Maybe I'm wrong?
I don't know, but I mean, yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, like I wish I would have got into this, because I would have, I would have at least targeted the top of this range, which is 136.24. That would have been a nice, like, 40 or 60% trade. Um, Damn, yeah, I wish I did see this on Friday. because I'm starting to look away from tech as I've been saying. This is UPS is considered as industrials, so yeah, industrials has been having a nice rally as of late. So yeah, I mean,
UPS is considered industrials?
yeah, look at this. I'll show you. You looking at my screen? Yeah, it's industrials. XLI.
No way.
Yes, way. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. See, look, UPS
Wow,
industrials.
it is.
Yep.
But no, it might be considered industrials in the spiders, but what is it considered in the in
In
sector
trading
based
view, it's
markets?
called transportation. Wow, transportation.
Industrial sectors, freight and logistics industry. Yeah,
All right.
damn.
Okay. Let's see. What other tickers did you guys request for before we move on to the thingy?
One said snow
Oh yeah, snow. Okay.
or an apple. They also said apple.
Apple. Oh, snow. Oh, dude, snow. So snow. Oh my goodness. I know you guys remember this. I took the snow calls on freaking when was this? Let me check my log. I took the snow calls on Monday. Oh my goodness. What a freaking rally. We got the snow calls over here on Monday right near close. This pop, oh JP, I wish you got in this trade with me too. This entire rally was 470%
I was
on snow
cash
calls.
poor.
Yeah. What?
I
Oh,
was
cash.
cash poor.
No, I know. But this rally here was 470%. But the main question is, okay, will snow continue to rally here? And I personally think it's less bearish than most other tech stocks. JP, what's your thoughts?
You know, I'm not a big trader of snow. I don't I don't know enough about the company and I don't trade it enough to have an opinion. Just looking at the chart, it does look like it wants to make a leg up, but again, I don't want to give my opinion on something that I don't fully understand.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally bullish on snow. I think the greatest thing that could happen for snow here is if it has like 2 days of consolidation around here and then eventually it rallies up because then you have a smaller version of a ascending scallop, which means it has a higher probability to continue to the upside. So I don't know if the guy who asked this has shares or something, but I definitely do like snow. It's one of the few tech stocks that I'm personally bullish on. Um, yeah, let me see the 2 hour. That's why I didn't get in it because the 2 hour didn't look that great, but the daily looks not that bad. You said Apple was the next one, JP?
Yeah, somebody was looking at Apple.
Well, I mean, straightforward. I'm not bullish on it. Are you?
No. I think Apple has a big down trade ahead of it,
Yeah.
especially with what happened with their Vision Pro crap, whatever it was. They're
Mm-hmm.
like immediately pulling that crap off the shelves because it doesn't look like it's going to do anything. And
Yep.
then the bigger problem that I have is this iPhone 16 that's not selling the way it's supposed to. And they also came out, I don't know if you noticed, if you heard the news, not noticed, but they were saying that they're probably going to stop with the multiple versions of iPhone releases. Did you hear about this? Like they're not going to
No.
do like iPhone Pro, Max,
What?
iPhone, whatever it is. You know what I mean? They're just
And
going to
what are
come
they
out
gonna
with
do?
one version because the multiple versions have been ruining their sales.
So are they gonna keep an expensive price point or a midway
I
price
think that's
point?
what they're going to do.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Um,
I think they should. I really do think they should just come out with one phone and just leave it like that, dude. You know what I mean? Just make the best version of it and put it for like $1,000. And if you want it, you want it. If you don't, you don't. End of story.
it's just crazy that a phone is worth $1,000 these days. But yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I see what you're talking about. Definitely, I don't know why my line is white, but it's definitely a little bit more bearish than bullish. I mean, Tesla had a similar trend to this, and a buddy of ours, named Randy. He actually brought this up to me. Tesla had a similar setup like this, where it had just like this consolidation and this upward trend, and then it broke below the trend line, and it's testing, rejecting, testing, rejecting. And that's exactly what's happening here with Apple, and I do think of what you do see, eventual downside to it, whether it be down to 210. I don't think all the way down to 197, but I think maybe eventually going to test the lower area from 216 to 210 here for Apple. But yeah, we're gonna go over two more tickers and we'll get into the indicators thing. Or okay, well, three more tickers and that's it. Uber. Hey JP, this is your favorite stock. Talk about it.
I lost $25,000 on it, so I could care less whatever Uber does. The chart does look bullish. I think Uber is undervalued, and I think that it could probably go to 100. But this is the exact same price range this is the exact same price that I owned Uber back in. Can you go? How far back can you go? Can you go all the way back to 20? Uh, Go back to 2020.
Okay.
Uh, Go to. I'm so sorry. Go to around March 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going up, higher, all the way up, higher, higher, higher. That's where I owned Uber.
Here?
No, no,
Oh, here?
at 60. No, no, higher.
What do you mean higher? You mean talking about all the way here?
Eh,
Uh, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then go down, go all the way down. No, no, a little bit more, a little bit higher, higher. Yeah, right there.
That's where he sold it.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's actually crazy.
and then look at where it is now. It would have taken me how many years for it to
3 years.
come back to 60? Yeah.
3 years.
Fuck
Insane.
that company.
Yep. I mean, hey, you could say it's bullish now, and I can't tell you you're wrong, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it's holding this support, but it has to break out of this trend line, or it's just gonna repeat what it's been repeating, which it tries to break above, stay above it, and then it rejects and it comes down right below. So, yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on JP. I'm not on JP, on Uber as well, as JP is, but it's not like the prettiest setup, I guess. Yeah. What else? What was it? Uber app. Do you know this one, JP? App?
We talked about this before.
Did we? I
About
feel like we
last
did.
weekend, somebody brought this up, and you specifically said that you didn't want to talk about something that was trading at these all-time highs
Yeah.
with this massive breakout because we don't know what it's going to do. I know nothing about it, and it looks like it's just a parabolic move. I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go back to what I said last week as well. I think it's just it's very risky to trade stocks like this, especially, I mean, look at this weekly chart. This looks like a crypto coin chart. So I don't know. I mean, you could say, hey, the daily is bullish, but at the same time, when the stocks
Yeah,
are around this range, yeah,
you clearly stated you did not want to be in this
nope,
because it already made this massive move
yep,
and it was dangerous up here because we know nothing about it.
yeah, exactly. We know nothing about it. There's no, the exact words, similar to what JP said. When a chart does not have historical price around the all-time highs for you to, go according to, then you just really don't know, right? The previous all-time highs for app were all the way back in 2021 and it was $116. The stock is now at 277. 291, sorry. So I can't really say I have an opinion on this. You could say it's bullish, you could say it's bearish. You have weekly's bearish, daily's bullish, but it's just too risky to think about anything. So unfortunately, I had to skip on this one. The last one we're gonna go over is AMD. So AMD, JP, could you just briefly, quickly go over your thoughts that you said earlier for AMD?
Yeah, and then before we move on to something else, I wanted to show you a terrifying chart. AMD is the bastard stepchild of the semiconductor space right now. Lisa Su was America's favorite CEO behind Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan. I think that they were so consumed with trying to be the single best chip maker for gaming. Um, this was before NVIDIA just took that hyper leap that they really didn't focus on AI. And now that everyone's ahead of the game on AI, I'm sorry, AMD is catching up. I think I personally think NVIDIA will have a rally, but I'm bullish on the semiconductors going into NVIDIA earnings. NVIDIA is fairly valued around the 120, and I think that there's more downside. Um, I think that the AI chip craze bubble has kind of bursted, and there needs to be something else that comes around this space in order for there to be another move to the upside. Um, and to be quite honest, it it doesn't look good here. Again, I'm temporarily bullish on Nvidia earnings, which is why I have SOXL, but I don't like Nvidia right now. I'm sorry, AMD right now.
Yeah. Daily, weekly doesn't look the most prettiest. I bought a starter position on AMD. Sorry, I was burping. Only reason is because I wanted to see test a possible double bottom. But as JP said, you tie in fundamental to this. You're short term bullish, but how much farther would you go? How much height is there to AMD? And yes, there's a lot, but usually height or sorry, let me use a better word. Usually strong bullish momentum is followed by strong consolidation. And this is not really consolidation, right? This is just a slow climb downwards. Consolidation is
Lower
a little bit,
highs,
yeah,
higher
exactly.
lows.
Yeah, yeah,
No, lower highs.
yeah. I mean, you have lower highs here, and then consolidation is where you get temporary, or not temporary, but you get like smaller, higher higher highs, and you start getting higher lows, and that's when the consolidation is good, and that's when you would want to enter. But right now you could see here, we're in a channel for AMD. I don't think it will massively break down from this channel. I don't think it's going to massively break up from this channel, but I just personally added just because I wanted to see for potential bottom up, double bottom, trade it up to 140, 150, of 149, 150, exit there or exit at the top of the trend line. But I think we eventually I think we eventually creep down to this, 127 to 117 area. And I think that's where it would be a little bit more of a long case for AMD. But yeah, what's the scary chart you wanted to show me before we move on to the thingies?
I want to talk about a time and space where people were just IPOing whatever shit company existed out there,
Beyond Meat?
and no,
Okay.
close. But how people were so stupid to think that a company like this would ever succeed. OTLY.
Oatly?
Does, any, does anyone remember Oatly?
The hell is this, bro?
That was that stupid milk made from oats. But
What?
they remember that they had a commercial that aired during the Super Bowl. It was
No,
a
I
it was
don't
a
remember
commercial.
this.
It was like something like uh wow no cow. Wow, no cow. It was a guy singing in a guitar. That was such a bad singing. This is such a shit fucking company, dude. Look at this. I mean, to think that Jim Cramer was, oh, he's gonna be revolutionize the world from $28, dude, to 60 cents. Like, this is a perfect example of why you can never, ever, ever trust the hype of these pseudo, I'm gonna
Yep.
be a vegan charts. It's just bad, man. This is just disgusting. I don't under I, it's I'm shocked that it's still listed.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing to really say about this chart. Uh,
Bad.